Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Tim Mussig. I am the president and CEO at the J.B. Prince Company. And this morning I have the pleasure of being at Batman Studios in New York City's Port Authority. It is a very, very cool space. It has a collection of Batman's work over these many, many years. And he is one of the preeminent photographers in this space. He has made many cookbooks with some of the world's best chefs, and he's given us an opportunity to talk to you guys. So I think we are a small wares dealer here in New York City. You may or may not know us. We ship things globally, but we're very strong here in the New York City area and most coastal cities here in the US. Nevertheless, we like to think of ourselves as a solution-based company, provide people with the tools that they need to complete and do the tasks that they need to do well in kitchens. And we think there's a lot of, not misinformation, but just not enough information, or maybe they're not the right questions that are being asked when people choose and select equipment. So we're here today to kind of give you a little education on certain things. It's in kind of a little all over the place by my own admission, but some popular things that people buy and think about when they come to our New York City showroom and beyond. And we don't always have an opportunity to talk to people, and with the wonderful invention of the internet, here's our opportunity. So one of the first products I'd like to talk with you today about is whisks. It is a fundamental core tool. They come in a variety of price ranges. And a very, very popular question at JB Prince about whisks and beyond are why price differences exist. Why does one cost $10? Why does one cost $50? And I thought I would pick whisks because that isn't one that's pretty easy for us to demonstrate and talk about. This whisk happens to be an American-made one from a company called Best Manufacturers. We happen to think it's a great product, made at a very specific price point, made well, has a sealed handle, good wire, and works, gets the job done. But you'll notice on this one that the wire is kind of bundled on top and then there's a hoop here. And the reason they do that is so the whisk doesn't get bent out of shape, which is a common problem with whisks. And so it will work and it'll function. If you take care of it, it will take care of you. But as you know, tools in a professional setting generally get abused. So they've kind of taken this precaution and said, all right, we're not even gonna give you an opportunity to try and bend this out of shape. We're gonna seal up this handle really, really well so no liquid gets in there, which is another important part. And so you can whisk and use it and have great functionality with it for years to come. We also sell one from a company called Matfair, who has this very solid, specific handle that they call Exoglass, which is a proprietary name for them. It's kind of a plastic nylon-y type material. And you'll notice that their wire is not bundled and it's set well into a handle. And the reason they don't have to bundle their wire is because they've chosen a material that has excellent memory and is made of a different specificity and quality. And I'm gonna show you exactly what I mean right now. You can pull this back and it'll come right back into place. And I'll pull it the other way and it'll do the same thing. And not only does it get the job done, it has a durability and it has a finesse, still like the other products, and that would be one of the major differences in price. They put a lot more engineering into this, they're using slightly better materials, and so there you go. So you can make an informed decision about how you buy your tools next time. We sell a tremendous amount of silicone molds. They're a very, very popular medium for pastry chefs, and even savory chefs. They use them to mold things. They use them for production things. They use them for specials if you want to do something interesting. And there is a tremendous amount of shapes out there in the world now. In front of me, we have some basic muffin shapes, and you'll notice this orange one. It's pretty common. We primarily sell them from two companies. One is referred to as Silcomart and Pavoni, two Italian-based companies. They happen to make an excellent product. We are big fans of it. If you notice it here, like I said, this is a very basic cylindrical kind of muffin shape, if you will. And if you notice this one, it's relatively smooth on the exterior. It's limited to about 6 cavities, this particular one. And it's a great product. We sell a lot of them, and they work for lots of different reasons. And this is a little trick when you're buying silicone products that are smooth like this, and you can look at it. And there's different grades of silicone, and many manufacturers won't discuss this with you or tell you. Some will. They'll say things like 100% platinum silicone and things like that. But if you just simply take your finger and you poke it here, and you don't see a color change, you know this is of a decent quality. Generally, if you see a lesser quality silicone and you do a finger poke the way I'm doing to really try and deform this, it'll kind of whiten. And that usually means it's of a not as good quality. What makes these molds, I guess, special is that they're made with a process that allows you to do pretty fine lines. If you notice, it's very, very defined here on the outside, and it's what they call an injection molding process. Now, there are other silicone molds in the world, and I got another one in front of you, and this is a near identical shape. This one happens to be in a half sheet size, and it's from a company called FlexiPan. And if you notice, the FlexiPan product has kind of a texture to it, if you will, or a fiber. And that's for a reason. And that reason is that it is actually made with a fiber or a base inside of here that gives not only a little bit more rigidity, but durability in the long term. Now, you wouldn't need to do the flex like I did before, but you can see it's of a very, very high quality. This company happens to control production from top to bottom. They actually even make their own silicone. And this is really for us the choice if you're doing a lot of bakes and a lot of production work, if you will. But it does have some limitations in the sense that the shapes, this one in particular doesn't really reflect it, but the shapes are much harder to get very intricate designs in. Whereas the injection molding product, which is the orange one, and others, there's white, there's all different kinds, they can make a very specific tool with very specific lines in it that are very defined and clean and clear. But because this product uses a fiber, they're not always able to do that. And so the shapes are generally a little bit more general. So maybe the easiest way to say it is they're both excellent products. They both have some limitations in the sense that this product is probably a little bit less durable, and this is far more durable. But if you're looking for intricacies and more fine lines, the injection product is going to be far superior or give you cleaner work. So it all depends on what you're looking for. It also depends on what price point you're at. But the fiber product, again, for large volume production and durability, and the fiber product for probably more specialty and artisanal approaches and plated desserts and things like that. So those are your reasons you'd buy two different kinds of FlexiPans or silicone molds. This is just a quick education. We get this question a lot. Silpats are a non-stick silicone liner that you use in half sheet pans or full sheet pans. They've been around forever. This one is one that we buy and purchase from a company called Demarl. We have our name associated with it. Silpat has kind of become the household name, if you will, for this kind of a mat. And again, all it is an opportunity for you to line a pan and make it non-stick, if you will. But there's also another product exists that's become a lot more popular, and it's this black color. And this is called Silpane, is how you refer to it. I think if you were French, you'd say Silpan. And this one is, I don't know if the camera's gonna pick it up, or you can actually, I can do it this way. You can see through this one. It's kind of porous, if you will. So they're made in a very similar way. The difference of this is made to work more in an environment with moisture and steam. So it allows, or for bread baking specifically, or for choux paste and eclair and things like this. So the black ones that happen to say Silpane are non-stick coated, but also porous at the same time, and generally for bread baking applications. So they're not black for fashion reasons, they're not black for color. They serve a different purpose and a different functionality. And so if you see these fiber-based mats and you feel them and they don't feel quite as smooth as these, that's the reason why. Cutter sets. People go through cutter sets in restaurants quite a bit. They're used in pastry, they're used in savory applications. People use them to punch ravioli, people use them to cut cookies, people use them to plate and to shape. And we've always sold generally two kinds. We've sold stainless steel. We've sold maybe even some aluminum-based ones over the years. These happen to be made out of a nylon or a plastic, and people say, plastic? Well, why would I buy a plastic cutter? Well, the truth of it is that unlike the metal ones, which can deform or dent or lose shape, the plastic ones generally are pretty rigid and hold their shape for a much longer period of time. They're very specific, and often the plastic ones have some kind of markings on them that tell you different sizes. So if you want to train your staff and get them to use a very specific size, you could say, hey, use number 20 millimeter, and it's easy to find and distinguish in the plastic cutter sets, which some of the metal ones lack that. The other thing is the other thing that they lack is metal ones are not seamless, whereas the plastic ones generally are. So you get a much cleaner cut, believe it or not, with a plastic cutter than you would with a metallic one. So they usually come in full sets like this. This one happens to be square, but much like in plastic, they have rounds, they have fluted, and they have all different kinds. And so if you're wondering what the differences were and why you should buy plastic over metallic, that would be the reason why. Cookware. Cookware is the backbone of a lot of restaurants. There is not really a department that can do without it. They come in all different shapes and sizes. We primarily try and sell cookware that's kind of stainless steel based and at the top end of the market, if you will. And there are two styles that we primarily have, and one is what we refer to as sandwich bottom, and one is what we refer to as fully clad. And the distinctions would be this. If you hear the term clad, that's generally pans of a higher price point of a different stainless steel material. And I'm holding one in my hand here. This one happens to be from a company called WA. And if you notice, it's kind of smooth all around and it's one uniform material. And when they say clad, it's basically the same density all the way around. This happens to be a layered steel. It's 5 layers. If you were here in the studio and you were able to pick it up, you notice it has some significant weight to it. This one actually has some really cool liter markings inside if you wanted to know something about measurements as you were adding things to the pan. It has a riveted construction, which is some mechanical fasteners that hold the handle on, makes it super sturdy, hollow handle. And the clad product is usually considered the preeminent cookware in most situations. It works extremely well, holds heat extremely well, and heat very, very evenly throughout. Then this is the little brother, if you will, another pan also from WA. Doesn't have the same weight, doesn't have the mechanical fasteners. This one happens to be a welded handle. And if you notice here, I hope you can see it, this one has what we call the sandwich bottom. And what they do is they fuse a plate to the base of the pan that basically has some ferrous material in it if you're using induction products, which is kind of a magnetic based cooking hub. It's very, very flat and smooth. So it works extremely well kind of on electric stove tops, on induction hubs, on flat tops, because you get great contact. And that's what you need in those situations. Some of the shortcomings, if you will, or some of the things you have to look out for if you cooked on an open flame, which you're welcome to do with this, is that there's a transition point here between that thick base and the actual pan material, which is much, much thinner. So if you have flames that tend to shoot up the side of the pan, you may get a little pan scorch here, so you have to kind of control it and keep your flame centralized or your heat source centralized to the middle, so it doesn't shoot up the sides and you don't get burns in the corner of your pan. But it is a much more lightweight pan, it is a much more economical pan, and it still performs extremely well. It just depends on the environment that you're in and what kind of pan it is that you need in your space. So these are two great options. Again, sandwich bottom, which has the fused plate to the bottom, and fully clad, which is one uniform material all the way around. So those are how you choose your pans when you're looking, and so you understand price point. This tool in front of me is a classic at JB Prince. It's been in our catalog for 25 plus years. And it's interesting to me because a lot of people still don't know what it is and don't understand the advantages of it. It has a couple of different names. We've actually referred to it for years as a fondant funnel. A lot of people refer to it as a sauce gun. But in essence, what it is a mechanical funnel. It's a way to put a lot of liquid. This one's just shy of 2 quarts, and it has a trigger mechanism. And once you depress this trigger, I'll do it again, don't worry about it.
Sunday mornings are usually.
Well, listen.
I mean, the other beeping is no problem. That one is.
Yeah, got it.
All right.
Should we start again?
Sure.
In front of me is a JB Prince Classic. It is a tool that has been in our repertoire, in our catalog for 25 plus years. And it's very interesting to me because I think people don't always talk about it or are unaware of it, but it is a time-saving, wonderful, wonderful device. Some people refer to it as a fondant funnel. Some people refer to it as a sauce gun. But in essence, what it is a mechanical funnel. This one in front of me happens to be around 2 quarts. That's generally what most of them are. I think there's about 4 or 5 of them in our lineup at this point. And simply what it is, this one happens to sit in this wire stand. You would fill this hopper here with liquid. There is a kind of spring-loaded trigger mechanism here. There's actually a piston inside here, and as I depress this trigger, it releases that piston and liquid would be able to pour out. So people go, what's the big deal? Well, the big deal is if you were doing anything in any significant volume and you needed control and you needed to work quickly, this is the ideal tool. If you have a cook standing there doing hundreds of plates with a spoon, that is wildly inefficient compared to this. In addition, this little funnel or this tip gets places where a spoon often can't. So I have this kind of fancy shot glass in front of me, or this verrine, if you will, to kind of demonstrate if I had a catered event, if I was in a restaurant and I needed to even serve 10 of these throughout the course of an evening in repetition to a large table, whatever the number may be, rather than trying to spoon into this kind of like awkward shape, look how easily this would fit inside. I would press the trigger, it would release the liquid, and it would just make your time much better served. It is all about efficiency with this and speed. And so the time spent trying to wipe down vessels, trying to pour things very, very specifically with maybe a spoon or some other kind of pour from another kind of vessel, a pitcher even, this is far, far superior. It's fast, it's easy, it's clean, and it is a great, great time-saving tool, especially in an environment where labor is difficult to come by and very expensive. Thank you all so very much for joining us today here. Again, I'm Tim Mussig, the CEO and president at JB Prince. We want to extend our gratitude for this opportunity to Batman and his wonderful studio space. Again, New York City Port Authority. You should come check it out. You should come say hello. You should let him take pictures for you because we said so. Nevertheless, thanks again. I hope this has been helpful for you. And if this isn't enough, you can come visit us, our New York City showroom, call our customer service department, send us an email on our website, www.jbprince.com. And don't forget to visit for Chef's Eyes Only for great information like this today and beyond. Thanks again.